Hey everyone, we are going to get started in just a minute. Let's give people a couple seconds to arrive and then we'll go. Okay, let's get started. Thank you all for tuning in today. If you are watching this, then you are interested in learning how generative AI can make you more productive, accelerate revenue, close deals faster, and invest less time in the kinds of rote content generation that get in the way of closing deals from yes to signing the contract. So we're talking about things like security questionnaires, onboarding questionnaires, and then earlier in the process, RFPs, RFIs. These are all things that happen in between an identified customer need. You know they're going to buy something if they're running an RFP. And they were interested in your product if they're inviting you to the RFP. But in order to get from the RFP to a closed deal, you often need to complete a very lengthy questionnaire, which is going to be filled with a lot of questions that you've probably answered in the past, or that can easily be answered by reference to specific documents. And when you fill it out, that's exactly how you're going to do it. You are going to look up RFPs that you filled out in the past. You're going to look up RFIs. You're going to look to your source documents, or you're going to ask other people in your organization to help you complete this. And they're going to do exactly that. Because that's just how these exercises work. After you've completed a few RFPs in your lifetime, they really become copy, paste, edit exercises. And they're very time consuming because they're usually just different enough that you can't just faithfully copy a past RFP and apply it to a new one. But the reason why there's so much content overlap and the reason why it feels so repetitive is because your company only sells so many products and services. And so a customer might be coming to you with what feels to them like a unique need and a unique product or service that they're going to buy. But for you, this is what you do every day, every week, every month. And so it feels very repetitive. You know that you've seen these questions, these needs, these requirements before. For the customer, they're brand new. And so you can't just skip past it. You need to invest real time in making sure they understand that you're serious about winning their business, making sure that they understand that you're taking their needs and their requirements seriously. But at the same time, you know that all the answers are available. And so they end up as the kind of problem that can really be easily automated with AI. This is exactly the kind of problem that generative AI is very good at solving. Taking your past content, taking an existing content library, asking it a question, and then having it synthesize all of that data, all of the information available to it, to produce a good answer to that question based on the content you've provided in the past. And so that's what Vendorful is focused on doing. And that's what I'm going to walk you through today. So let's just get right into it. Okay, hopefully you are all seeing my screen now. So everyone here most likely has signed up for a Vendorful account. If you haven't, go to app.vendorful.ai or vendorful.ai and click sign up for your free trial. When you register and sign in, you will see something like this dashboard. And there's a few things you can do here. You can add content to your content library. This is the information that trains your AI assistant to answer questions. You can complete a response if you have an existing RFP that you want to fill out, or a security questionnaire, or an RFI, or an onboarding document, and you have content loaded. You can complete one of those documents. Or you can just ask the AI a question. That's what we call our Ask the AI feature. And this is kind of going one by one. I want to know about our encryption policy, or how often do we test our disaster recovery procedures? Something like that just comes up in the course of a conversation with a customer, or an email exchange with a customer, or just out of your own curiosity. And rather than bothering somebody else in your organization, you can go to your all-knowing subject matter expert, which is the Vendorful AI assistant. That feature, by the way, is also available through Slack and Teams, but we'll show you how to use it through the user interface here. Okay, so there's only so many things you can do in the product. It's very, very easy to use. So I'm going to walk you through very quickly how to do all of them. Managing your content library, you can import existing RFPs or completed RFPs that you filled out in the past, or just general documents like case studies, support documents, marketing collateral, whatever you think is relevant. Security policies is another common one. Anything that you think is relevant to completing the kinds of questionnaires that you respond to. I'm going to show you examples of both kinds of things. You can also import URLs. So just to set the stage here, what you're looking at, this is a fictitious CRM company that we made up, Acme CRM, for demo purposes. So it doesn't actually have any website out there. But if you wanted to start out by, say, ingesting your public help documents, or you want to upload a published case study, something like that you have on your website, you can just import a URL, one page at a time. So we don't want to crawl your website and get things that you don't want to bring into your content library. You just enter the specific page that you want us to download, and we'll download it, and add that to your content library. Very, very easy to use, very straightforward. Doesn't really require any training, just paste in the URL and go. So I'm going to focus instead on the documents. Okay, so here we have a completed RFP that we're going to upload. And so when I import a completed RFP that's in Excel format, you see that the AI knows what kind of format it's in, and it says, hey, I don't really know exactly how to understand all the content in here. I can see there's a bunch of text. I can see that there's multiple columns, multiple cells, multiple areas I might be looking at. What are the questions and what are the answers? Please help me understand it so I can best process this information. So it's very straightforward. We call this annotation. We annotate the document, say, hey, these are questions, and these are the answers to those questions. That's it. A couple seconds, right? We've got this group of questions here, and then these are the answers to those questions. Really easy. And then there's a shortcut here. If that is too long and the content is organized into columns, it's very simple. It's just like, hey, this column is all questions. This column is all answers. And so you see that it's automatically matched up. This question goes with that answer. There are 35 questions in this questionnaire. If there are multiple sheets in this document, you could import the multiple sheets at the same time. If you have any mistakes, like, by the way, it ignores blank cells, so you don't have to worry about that. It's like, I know there's nothing there, but let's say I didn't actually want to import this one. I just click clear, undo it, and it won't import it now. You see I removed it, now it's 34. But I am going to import that one, so yeah, that's a question, that's an answer, boom. Add the content to the library. And you see it's just parsing the document, and now we've got all of these questions and answers. So, what is your company's commitment to user experience? And this is the answer from this RFP. Okay, if we wanted to delete this in the future, it's very simple. You can delete it. If I wanted to download the source document to look at it, say, some questions come up in the future, like, where did this come from? You can look at that. The other interesting thing here is you can label your content. So let's say this is, this is none of these things. This is not business continuity, case study, or security. But I could add one. completed RFPs. Boom. So now I have created a content label called completed RFP. Labeled this as such. And if I go to my content library, see, I've imported this document in the past, so I'm going to remove the duplicate. But let's just, I think there's going to be some, another completed RFP. So I've added this new content label. This is a completed RFP. I'll show you how to use this when you're completing a response. You don't have to use the labels. It's optional. Our customers find that if they have multiple products, or if they're using our product for multiple kinds of documents, like they're responding to security questionnaires and RFPs, it's helpful to organize their content in this way so that when, say, you're filling out a security questionnaire, maybe you just want to reference the security documents. Whereas when you're filling out an RFP, you want to reference everything because there could be security questions in there. There could be, more product-oriented questions. There could be more sales-type questions about like customer references and case studies and value propositions and things like that. So it's really up to you, but this will help you organize your content and select the pieces that you want to use at different times. Okay, so we've imported a spreadsheet. Let me show you how to import a document. So in this case, it's going to be a PDF. We've got a business continuity and disaster recovery plan. This is even simpler. Just point it to the document and it just uploads it, understands the document, breaks it up into chunks, and sort of adds it to your content library. So you see all this information about the purpose of the plan, et cetera, et cetera. This is now all in the content library and is available to help the AI answer questions about business continuity, disaster recovery, et cetera. Now, again, this was a duplicate piece of content, so you see I already had uploaded this in the past. But just like I did before, I can also label this business continuity. And now if I go back to my content library, see I've got a couple things labeled business continuity. I've got case studies, I've got completed RFPs, I've got security documents. Okay, I'm gonna remove one of these duplicates because it's not helpful to have duplicate content. It can sometimes cause problems, not always, but better to just kind of, limit it to the things that you know are good. It's more predictable that way. All right, next. So we've got some content in here. Now we're gonna start an RFP. So this is an example RFP. Like I mentioned, in this environment that you're looking at, we're pretending that we're a fictitious CRM company called Acme CRM. So all the content in here is related to this fictitious CRM product. And you see we've got this incoming RFP. It's got some text questions, some yes/no with comment, and so some of these have a single answer, some of these have multiple cells that are answers. We annotate it. Start by annotating it in the same way that you annotated the completed RFPs for training the system. So let's start there. These are questions. And oops. See, I messed something up, and that's why we have the clear. These are answers. And the same thing as before, you can do it kind of one question at a time. In the case of these multiple answers here, you actually just select all the cells. So it will, for the yes, no, it is going to identify that these are the options it has available to it. And it's going to select a yes, no, or NA answer for all of those. And then it's going to fill in a comment for where a comment is required. Now, just like I showed you earlier, you can do a shortcut here if kind of going through in groups is too slow for you, and you see it matches up all the questions and answers, and then I just got to kind of go in and fill in, hey, these are questions too, or questions and answers as well. And that's it. So we have now annotated this entire sheet in 30 seconds, and we're ready to start our RFP. So now what it's doing is it's taking that document that we just annotated, it's processing the questions as you see here, it's understanding the content, and then it is looking through your content library of completed RFPs. Before we get to that, it's saying, okay, which reference documents should I include here? So I mentioned earlier, if you have your content labeled, you can decide what gets included. In this case, I actually want to include everything. I want security, I want case studies, I want completed RFPs, I want the BCP plan, and I want anything that we didn't label. In other circumstances, like I said, if this was a security questionnaire, maybe I only want business continuity and security. If it is an RFI, maybe I don't want to get into security and business continuity, depending on the context. It really just is up to you. You have the flexibility to include or exclude what you want. Or another common use case, if you have multiple products. Let's say that you had CRM and marketing automation. If this is a CRM only RFP, maybe you exclude all the marketing automation stuff. If it's kind of more of a general RFP for everything that you offer, you include both. It's going to depend on the specific requirements of the document you're dealing with, but you have the flexibility to do whatever you want. So we chose those reference documents, and now it's going to start generating answers to the questions in the RFP based on all of that content. And you see it's kind of going through it like, a rate of about one answer every 5 to 10 seconds. So it'll take a few minutes to get through 39 answers. And while it's doing that, let me show you the other feature. So we'll come back to that in a second. Ask the AI. I mentioned this earlier. Example I gave was, let's just say customer wants to know, how often do we test our disaster recovery procedures? And, I could choose a specific label, or I could just choose everything. So I'm going to leave it blank, just ask everything. And you see that it came up with an answer here. We test our disaster recovery procedures every 6 months with a DR rehearsal. And more importantly, as you will also see when we get the completed RFP response, it provides you with an audit trail of where this content came from. So not only does it provide an answer, you can validate that the answer makes sense based on your content library. And also, if you see an answer that doesn't make sense, you can see if you have outdated content. So let's just say that you've changed providers for a critical piece of infrastructure, and you have some old content lying around that says such and such is at AWS, and you've moved it to Azure, and you're like, wait, why is it mentioning AWS? The question answer pairs and the relevant text will tell you where it's coming from. So in this case, we don't see the 6 months here, right? So it's like, okay, where did it get the 6 months from? Oh, okay, all right. It actually pulled it from the BCP plan. There it is. We tested every 6 months. Okay, so that's where that drew from, and it kind of pieced together the other bits of context here to make an answer that makes sense to a human. So it's not just the number 6, but an answer that you could send back in an email to a customer and have them understand it and then be conversational. So that's how you use the Ask the AI. And like I said, this feature is available through Slack or through Teams. So you can use this in the channels that you already communicate with your teammates that you're in every day, and just access your content library directly. All right, so let's go back to the RFP that we were just working on, and we see that it's done now. These were all the content labels that I chose. And you see that it completed 98% of the document. It answered 38 questions, and it left one unanswered. So let's start there. Let's see what it didn't answer. Okay, so there was a weird question in here about which city has the best pizza. And there's no content in our content library about pizza. This is an important point. It didn't just make up an answer. For some of you people out there who are following kind of the generative AI zeitgeist, you may have heard of hallucinations or confabulations. There is a tendency for language models, for text-based AIs, to want to be helpful, to provide an answer, even if they don't necessarily have all the information they need to provide a good one. And so we've worked very hard to make sure that our assistant doesn't answer questions that it can't answer. If you have content in your library that's inaccurate, then, it doesn't know that. It's going to draw on whatever you have available. So, we provide you the tools to help manage your content library. But if there's nothing in your content library, like pizza, then it's not going to provide an answer. So we'll just fill in an answer. We'll add that. And if we wanted, now we have the option of actually importing the answers we've provided back into our content library. And so let me just quickly kind of walk you through then the questions that it did answer. It sort of works in the obvious way. It's produced a draft to all of these questions. You could just take this and we recommend that you review it. Always have a human in the loop to make sure that, again, all your content is accurate. It's going to be the most determinative factor of how accurate your answers are, is how accurate is your content. But let's just sort of drill into one of these here. So here we go. So this is a weird one, right? This one asked about, the query is asking about integrations, but it's phrased in a very funny way. Like, how does your CRM merge with other enterprise tools? And so what you'll see is it was able to answer. It interpreted that this is looking for integrations. And so all the answer here is about integrations. This is another point I want to emphasize. This is not a system that just does keyword matching on your content library. So if I drill in here and look at the related content, then you can see like it pulled information about integrations, and then differentiations, and then if we look in the related content library text, other things that mention integration, case studies that mention integrations. And so the takeaway, the thing that you need to understand about the system is it's actually making a semantic understanding of what the question is asking and what your content library says, not just looking for keywords like integrations or enterprise tools. It's using a variety of search methods and search techniques to identify which content is probably the most relevant, but then the AI is synthesizing all those answers, all of that content and context that it comes up with to produce a semantically valid response. And so, here we go. So it answered about integrations, gave all the different systems that we integrate with. And then also, even though you'll notice that this question here, this top matched question answer pair here that mentions specific applications, it doesn't mention anything about marketing automation, but it pulled this from other content. I believe it was from a case study, and again identified that they're asking about integrations. This is sort of a kind of an open-ended question. Let's not just parrot this answer. Let's actually take other bits of information that are relevant and add it in. So it's a lot smarter than systems that are just kind of doing smart search. It's acting more like a human analyst who knows your product would act. Okay, and so that's how that works. And there's more features I could walk you through. We also have annotation of Word documents. So like if you get an RFP in Word format, you can upload that, run through a very similar process. But for the sake of kind of a concise onboarding, concise overview, I think this is probably a good place to stop. If anyone wants to see it, by all means, reach out to us. We're happy to show anyone how it works. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us through the help widget here. This contact us button in here comes directly to pretty much everyone on the team. So you'll always reach somebody. Might be me, might be my co-founder David, might be someone on our customer success team, but somebody will always see this and respond. And we're eager to hear from you. Thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a great day.